Good Erev Shabbos, dear friends, community family. It is so special coming back to our community from the Holy Land of Israel. Israel is a very special place. The atmosphere, it feels holy. There is a certain substantive element of godliness and holiness that you just feel walking along the streets of Jerusalem. Not even when you get to the Holy Wall, which of course represents the holiest place in the entire universe, where God planned to have his abode, to have his home. And we are, thank God, an environment where we can access that. However, with all of that holiness, coming back to this community is very special. Almighty God has blessed us with an extraordinary community, of course, made up of the wonderful people whose spirit and animation and dedication and feelings all come together to create this extraordinary space. And so it's nice to be home. And this week we are going to conclude the first book of the Torah, the book of Vayechi, the book of Genesis, with the portion of Vayechi. Very interestingly, the Torah tells us that Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt for the last 17 years of his life. And those last 17 years were the best years of his life. That's what our rabbis tell us. For 130 years prior to that, there was suffering, challenges, difficulties. His brother wanted to kill him. His father-in-law wanted to kill him. He lost his beloved wife prematurely. His son was missing for 22 years of constant pain. And these last 17 years were the most extraordinary years of his life. And an obvious question is, how could it be that the last 17 years, which were in the most degraded, degenerate place in the whole world, Egypt, how is it possible that one's best years are in that kind of environment? Hopefully, the best years of one's environment would be in the Holy Land, not in the opposite of the Holy Land, which is the concept of the devastation of the exile of Egypt. Yet it's the best years he lived there. And the reason being because our objective is to sanctify the world, to elevate the world, and to go even into the darkest spaces and make those spaces holy and light as well. That is the purpose of the Jew. We are a light into the nations. And Yaakov realized that his children, his extraordinary progeny, they will be able to enter into exile, and instead of being overwhelmed by exile, and in some dangerous manner even assimilated by exile, they will retain their initial power and energy and commitment to Almighty God and to the Jewish people. They will influence exile instead of exile influencing them. That's why his best years were there, when he realized that, knowing that his children would have to experience many years of exile, thousands of years of exile. How will they be able to sustain? And when he saw the way they lived in Egypt, influencing that environment with holiness, Yaakov lived his best years. And so we read at the end of the Torah portion, after Yaakov blesses his children, each one of them in an extraordinary manner, and then they go and they bury Jacob in a procession where the entire world recognizes the hierarchy of the Jewish people led by Joseph, the viceroy of Egypt at that time. And the very last words of this book of Genesis, in absolute preparation for their exile in Egypt for the next 210 years, which would be horrific, was the burial of Joseph. And the last words are, and they put him in a box in Egypt. What does that mean, they put him in a box? Of course, if the person passed away, they put you in a box. But it meant to say they put him in a box, they put him on the shelf. They didn't live with the Joseph concept for the time they were in Egypt. That was their downfall. God forbid, most of the Jews unfortunately assimilated. There were a group of Jews that did not change their names, that did not change their clothing, that did not change their language. They retained that Jewish identity that is so essential for the future continuity of the Jewish people. And so it says, do not put Jewishness in a box. Don't put it on the shelf. Don't put it in the storage where how many thousands of Jews, their parents, grandparents passed away, they call the shul, can you come and please pick up the box? And we go, the box is a box filled with prayer books, with Jewish objects that they don't have any more use for. Their parents used them, their grandparents used them, but not they. The Torah says, when you put Jewishness in a box, when you put Joseph in a box, the next portion we read is about the painful experience of Jewish exile. And so let's make sure that our Jewishness is out of the box as we experience it here. And in that way, when we finish this book and we proclaim to each other the last powerful words, Chazak, Chazak, V'nischazek, be strong, and we will all be strengthened together to welcome Mashiach immediately. Have a wonderful Shabbos.